Okay, welcome everybody to another Thursday night shir with the thoughts of the Orach Chaim HaKadosh on the Parsha. This week is Parsha Shemot, we're starting a new sefer. So we have a very pivotal point in Jewish history, so to speak. We have the Jewish nation. They are now in Mitzrayim. They're in Egypt for enough time that the 70 people that originally came down with Yaakov have all passed away. That generation is gone. And now the Egyptian royalty begins to get a little bit nervous about the Jewish people. So let's take a look about in the parsha, some of the psukim, and we'll see what the Orach Chaim HaKadosh has to share with us tonight. So start from the beginning. It says the Torah tells us that Vayaka Melech Chadash al Mitzrayim Asher Lo Yada Es Yosef. Oh well, one pasuk before. I'm sorry. Vayamas Yosef Kol Echa V'Kol Adarahu. Joseph and all of his brothers and the entire generation, they all died. Bnei Yisrael, the Jewish nation, Paru, they had a lot of children. By Yishritzu, they multiplied. By Yirbu, and they increased. By Ya'atzmu, and they became very strong. B'ma'od ma'od, very, very much. Matim oleh ha'aretz osam, and the land became filled with them. And then it says, Vayaka melech chadash al Mitzrayim, there was a new king that began to lead Egypt. Asher lo yada es Yosef, who did not know Yosef. And there's a discussion, is this true? It was really a brand new king, so to speak, that the old king died and then there was a new king that was hired, new king appointed? Or was it the same king, but he just began passing new decrees against the Jewish people, and he made himself as if he didn't know Yosef, pretended like the whole story with Yosef and what he did for the country didn't exist. In fact, the Medrash, when explaining that opinion, that really he knew who Yosef was and he remembered Yosef, what this is telling us is that this Paro was a tremendous ingrate. He had very little gratitude for what Yosef had done for the entire country. If it wasn't for Yosef's advice, so then the country would have starved out because of the tremendous famine. And therefore, he was totally ingracious, had no gratitude for what Yosef had done for him. Yomer al Amosa, he tells his people, Hine am b'nei Yisrael, behold the Jewish people, they're great. They're much more, they're many more people than we are, and they're greater than us. Let's wisen up, let's get smart, let's play it smart. Because maybe there'll be too many. The what will happen is there'll be a war. The nosaf gamu al sonenu, and they'll join up there in our enemies. And they'll fight against us. They'll haaretz, and they'll lead us out, and they'll kick us out of our own land. Okay, so therefore, this is where it begins. The Egyptians were scared that the Jewish people would, in fact, take over Egypt. Therefore, there's a certain concern of what to do. So says the Torah, Vayasimu olav sari misim. So Paro was a smart guy. He was not foolish, and he knew how to play the game. He knew how to go ahead and manipulate the circumstances to his own favor. And he woke up one morning and he told everybody, okay, we're going to make a contest. It's going to be a brick making contest, and we're going to see how many bricks a person can make. And sure enough, everybody came, and the Jewish people, the winner wins a prize. You get a hoverboard, you get a new car, whatever it is, right? Whatever the raffle is going to be for the prize. And everybody came, the Jewish people too, and they had participated in this contest. And everybody some people made 20 bricks, some people made 100 bricks. Everybody made as many as they could. And what Paro did was the next day, he placed these taskmasters on the Jewish people, and they went down banging on doors the next day. He says, yesterday you made 57 bricks. Today, I want you to make another 57 bricks. And the Jews asked, there's another raffle today? There's another party? He says, no, this time we're forcing you to do it, whether you like it or not. And they started forcing them, and eventually said, 57, make 114, and multiplying and doubling up the amount of bricks that they had to make. Interestingly enough, there was an individual by the name of Korach. Korach, you've heard his name in the past, probably not in this context, but there was a person by the name of Korach, and he saw right through the plan. As soon as he heard the announcements, big raffle party, everybody come make as many bricks as you can, he knew something fishy was going on. So what did he do? He made one brick. He made one brick. That's all he made. It was the nicest brick in all of Egypt, but he made one brick. And the next day, when the Egyptians came to his house, they looked at the sheet of paper and they said, "Oh, you only made one brick?" He says, "Yeah, I only made one brick. I'm very slow. I'm not good at making bricks." So the Egyptian says, "Listen, do not come. Do not make any bricks. We don't want to see you anywhere near anybody else." Why? You're going to be bad for morale. People are going to say, "Oh, look at that guy. He makes two bricks. It's a joke. Why can't we make two bricks?" And you're going to ruin it for everybody. Just stay away and don't come anywhere near the brick making process. Don't come near the factories. Don't come near the machinery. Just stay away. You don't have to make any bricks. And Korach, like this, got an exemption. He got exempt from making any bricks. But now Korach was smart. And Korach started making more bricks. And in the privacy of his own home, he made brick after brick after brick, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, not just in. He told his wife and he told his kids, everybody's going to make bricks. Today's project is bricks. How many bricks can we make today? And he started stockpiling bricks. Now, eventually, the Egyptians were told the Jewish people, no more. We're not providing you with all the materials. You're going to have to make the same quota, but we're not providing materials for bricks. You're going to have to provide your own materials. And what happened was it became very difficult for people to fill these quotas. And that's when Korach stepped in. And he had storehouses and warehouses filled with millions of bricks. And he went to his brethren, the Jewish people, and he said, "Here's your chance. I'll give you some bricks. You want some bricks? I have extra. Here, take a few." And some people took. They told their friends, "Oh, go to Korach. He's got some extra bricks." And he gave some to the other people. And sure enough, word got around, Korach is the brick dealer. And suddenly, Korach says, it's hard for me to give all these bricks for free. It's not easy like this. It's a business. Maybe you can pay me some. And he started charging for bricks. And then he started charging for more money for bricks. He started price gouging and exorbitant prices of money that he was charging for bricks. And kept on providing for the Jewish people at extreme amounts of money. The Medrash says that he was price gouging so much that he's, so to speak, cleaned out. He became the wealthiest Jew, and everybody else became very, very poor. And says the Medrash, this is why when Korach later on in the history, he went and he challenged the leadership of Moshe, and he said to Moshe, "Moshe, who says you should be king? You should be in charge, and your brother should be the Kohen Gadol? We also deserve something." So what he did was, Moshe said, "Okay, we're gonna make a deal. Everybody's gonna bring a ketores, and Hashem is gonna decide who's the true Kohen, and whoever's the true Kohen is gonna live. But anybody that's not the true Kohen, you know what's gonna happen? The ground is gonna crack open its mouth and swallow you and your entire family and your entire belongings. Everything of yours will go straight down." And Korach signed on the dotted line, and we know the history that sure enough, Moshe challenged him, and Moshe challenged him, and Moshe was correct. The ground opened up and swallowed Korach and his family and all of his possessions. And the Medrash says the reason why even his family and his possessions were all punished was because of the fashion that he used to get the money in the first place, and he utilized his family to make this money. All of that was not appropriate what he did in Egypt, and therefore he was punished in such a severe way. So that is what the wisdom that Paro had. Now let's get to the Orach Chaim HaKadosh and let's see what he tells us about a very interesting story. The part that the Torah tells us that Vayomer Melech Mitzrayim L'Miyaldos Ha'Ivrios, the king of Egypt, he told the midwives of the Jews, Asher Shem Ha'achas Shifra, Hashem Hashem is Pua. One was Shifra and one was Pua. We know these were really Yocheved and Miriam, mother and daughter. And he told them, watch out for baby boys. He was told by his astrologers that there would be a boy that would be born to the Jewish people, and that boy would be the leader of the Jewish people. But you should know he's got a weak spot. He's going to be punished through water. And Paro said, "Oh, he's going to be punished through water? That means I can drown him. And drown any boy that's born, I want you to drown him." The Chassam Sofer interestingly says that this was such a severe and crazy and extreme decree that even the Egyptians couldn't have taken and allowed Paro to get away with this for too long. And he says that this decree really only lasted for one day, interestingly enough. But whatever it was, the Egyptian, the midwives, what did they do? Did they listen to Paro? And it says no. Vatirena hamiyalodo says Elokim. The midwives feared Hashem. Below also kasher diber aleihen melech Mitzrayim. They didn't listen to Paro. And they kept the kids alive. Paro confronts them. What's going on? Why did you keep these kids alive? I told you to do something. So they said, no, you don't understand. The women, the Jewish women, they're like professionals at giving birth. They know how to do this very easily. And before we can even go and get there to help them, they've already given birth and they've skirted the children away. And that's why we've never been able to fulfill your decree. Now, because they stood up for what's right and they didn't kill these children, and in fact, they kept them alive, says the Torah, Vayitev Elokim lem lialdos. Hashem did a kindness for the midwives. What was the kindness? So the Torah doesn't say just yet. It says Vayirev ha'am vayatzmu ma'od, that the people multiplied and increased greatly. There were lots more babies being born suddenly. And then it says, you want to know what Hashem did that was good for these midwives? It was that these women feared the Hashem, and he made for them houses. Now, what does that mean? His houses, established households of Kahuna, of Levi, of Malchus, very, very powerful, that there were priests, there were the Levi, there were kings that came from these two women, very, very powerful things. But the question that Orach Chaim HaKadosh addresses is, what's with the pause in the middle? You would tell me, Vayitev Elokim le'melados, and God gave the midwives something very nice. And what is that very nice thing? In the next pasuk, it tells us these houses, these established monarchies, and these established homes of priesthood. But there's a break in the middle. Oh, you should know that the Jewish nation, they were lots of people. They were having lots of kids. We know the Medrash tells us that a woman was giving birth to 6 children at once. So the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, well, what's with the pause? Why does the Torah almost interrupt itself with these words? Vayirev ha'am vayatzmu ma'od. What's with those words? That's the Orach Chaim HaKadosh's question. It says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. Let's take a look at it together. So Od Yirmos ki bir'os Hashem yir'asa me'elokim. As soon as Hashem saw the fear that these women had of Hashem, Hizmin liyadam, he brought and introduced to their hands asos mitzvah l'ein kates, to perform mitzvahs without end, laharbos scharim, to give them even more reward. Who omro, this is what it says Vayitev, that Hashem did a kindness to them. Umahi hatovo, what was the kindness that Hashem did for them? Vayirev ha'am, that the nation became multiplied, the nation multiplied, that there were lots more babies being born. And what does that help? Shebezeh. So through that, Yigdal Zechusam, their merits should be greater. Kikulam yechashavu lahem kishlo. Now, all the kids that are now born to the Jewish people, all the boys that are now born, they're all being given credit to Shifra and Pua, to Yocheved and Miriam, for not killing them. The Ulai, and says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, an unbelievable thing. Ki l'tamzeh, perhaps for this reason, Zachu Moshe v'Aharon b'Yisrael. This is why Moshe and Aharon were merit to become leaders of the Jewish nation. Ki b'shalom zochim, let's add ki Yocheved and Miriam nasnu nafsham aleinu, is because it was through their family, Yocheved and Miriam, it was through them, the mother and sister of Moshe and Aaron, it was through them that they risked their lives for us, aleinu, for us, for the entire Jewish people. The Avru Pimelech, and they did not listen to the king. The Od Lahem Shazanu Parnasu Mishalahem. And not only that, the Medrash says that when the children were born, when these baby boys were born, what was stopping the Egyptians from going and finding these boys in every single house and just killing them afterwards? It didn't have to be right away. Paro said, do it at birth. It'll look like a miscarriage and everything will be, nobody will blame me. But they could have gone, so he could have sent soldiers to the houses to find these boys. So why didn't they find them? So the Medrash tells us that we know that what happened, we say it in the Haggadah on Passover, that what these women did is they took them, they hid them out far out in the desert, and they put them under these certain trees that were growing in the desert, and they brought water for them, they brought food for them, and they provided, and they raised these children as if they were their own, from their own money. And therefore, and therefore, because of that, we can see that Moshe and Aaron, it's like they are our father, they're a king, who Mashiach, the Klach gam kein lederach zeh ki litzad anu anfei nishmaso shel Moshe dechsev Moshe amol is a savlo yocheved oleinu lohagin ba'adein. Since Moshe Rabbeinu was such a powerful person in his spirit and his soul, so what his mother Yocheved had done is that she protected the Jewish nation and gave them food and water to survive, just like any parent would do for their child. And says, so what the Aruch Chaim HaKadosh is telling us, the way to read and understand the pasuk is as follows. The Hashem performed a kindness for the midwives. What was the kindness? They did such a nice thing the first time. Hashem said, I'm going to have more children being born, so then you can have even more merits. And therefore, they'll have even more merits. And because they were Moser Nefesh, they gave up for themselves to help others. Therefore, not just to help others, rather to help the entire nation. Therefore, her two children, Yocheved and Miriam's brothers, Yocheved's two sons, Moshe and Aaron, were the leaders of the Jewish nation. Now, there's two powerful points that I want to address and to make note of from the Aruch Chaim HaKadosh. Number one, the first thing is the concept of schar mitzvah mitzvah. Chazal tell us, the Mishnah tells us that the reward for a mitzvah is another mitzvah. What does that mean? That means when we perform a mitzvah, a commandment, a positive thing, a kindness, tell somebody else, we do some mitzvah, Hashem says, wow, you did something beautiful like that. I want you to do more. I'm going to give you more and more opportunities. I'm going to give you even more merits and more opportunities to grow and to connect and to be close to me. And therefore, we see from Yocheved and Miriam, because they went ahead and did this special thing, obviously the right thing to keep these children alive and to sustain them, Hashem said, I'm going to give you even more opportunities. That way you should have even more merits. That's the first thing. Second thing that I want to say that we see from this is that the Aruch Chaim HaKadosh is consistently pointing out how Yocheved and Miriam gave from themselves their own money, Mishel Ohem, their own finances, their own things that they had to sustain people that were not there, their own children that were not theirs. And therefore, because they took care of children that were not theirs, Moshe and Aharon were the leaders of the nation to take care of other children that were not theirs. And what we see from that is when we go above and beyond what we can to help each other, to help another person, to help somebody in need, when we do that for other people, so we have a tremendous ability to go ahead and give ourselves an opportunity that Hashem will say, you took care of my children, I'll take care of yours. A way to protect and to ensure that we are always being taken care of from Hashem is by helping other people. And showing Hashem, we care, not just obviously we care about our own children, no question about it, but we even care about your other children, Hashem. We are the children of Hashem. Other people are also the children of Hashem, and we care about them. We want to help them as much as we can too. And then we can see tremendous merit that even Moshe and Aaron, they became the leaders of the Jewish people. These are the 2 points that the Aruch Chaim HaKadosh is drawing out from this very simple pasuk. I want to just to a quick recap. We see that the Aruch Chaim HaKadosh was bothered. He said, "Vayitev Elokim lamiyaldos." It seems to be telling us what kindness that Hashem did for the midwives, and then it seems to pause and tell us, oh, by the way, the nation grew. And the Aruch Chaim HaKadosh is explaining that was the reward. The reward was that the nation grew, and therefore they had the ability to go ahead and perform even more kindnesses. And that tells us, the Aruch Chaim HaKadosh tells us that because of the merit that they did it once to save children, they were merited to do it even more and more. And then the second idea that the Aruch Chaim HaKadosh seems to make mention of is the fact that the Yocheved and Miriam supported and took care of the other children that were not theirs with their own finances and from their own food and water. And because of that, Moshe and Aaron were the ones who became the leaders of the Jewish nation. Thank you so much for coming. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try and address them.
Rabbi, I know that the famous midrash that Shifra and Pua are Yocheved and Miriam.
Yes.
Are there other midrashim that there's somebody else?
Not that I'm familiar with. Yeah, it's an interesting point. Based on the Aruch Chaim HaKadosh, he's working very closely with that medrash, saying that this is why that their son and brothers were the ones who merited to be the leaders of the Jewish nation because of what they did, that would seem to imply specifically that Shifra and Purah were only Yocheved and Miriam. Yeah, but I don't know. I'm not familiar with any other names.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing to look into anyway.
Yeah, I mean Rashi says it on Chumash on the Pasuk. He says that Shifra and Pua. The Or Chaim does make mention earlier, interestingly enough, that maybe Paro was the one who gave the names Shifra and Pua because of their positions. Maybe they were even almost like the royal midwives or something, that they had certain position that they held, and that's why they have these unique names. But yeah, it's an interesting idea. Okay, wonderful. Thank you all so much for coming. Have a wonderful Shabbos. It's good to see you. And Emir Hashem, we will see you next week.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you very much, Rabbi.
Be well, everybody.
Everyone be well. Shakov.